Hi, I am Jairo Bulleto, multimedia reporter, and this is Rappler Talk Entertainment. I'm sorry, we have to redo the spiel. Hi, I am Jairo Bulleto, multimedia reporter, and this is Rappler Talk Entertainment. A new set of Earth Queens has been crowned, and we're so lucky to have two of them here in the Rappler newsroom today. Of course, please welcome Australia's first Miss Earth, Jessica Lane, and our Miss Earth Water USA's Bea Millan-Windorski. Welcome to Rappler, girls.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having us.
We're so honored to have you. So let's get straight into our interview. So let's talk about your post-pageant activities. It's been weeks, it's been days since after your coronation. So have you been enjoying the Philippines so far? Jessica first.
Absolutely. For me, it's my first time here in the Philippines, and I've wanted to come my entire life, so it feels like a dream come true. We did some exploring, my family and I, around some of the islands here, and it was really lovely to immerse myself in the biodiversity that the Philippines have to offer. In Australia, as Miss Earth, I'm sure you can imagine, but I'm quite a nature girly, often in the beach or in the rainforest. So to have some snorkeling experiences on the beautiful reefs that Philippines have, it was really an incredible experience, and I can't wait to come back.
And we're so glad you've enjoyed our beautiful reefs.
Love it.
Underwater. How are you, Bea? For our fellow Filipinos, Bea is half Filipino, so she's been here quite a lot of time.
It was really amazing to get to visit my Lola, my family, in our home province of La Union. So my family is originally from Nueva Vizcaya, but my Lola, she retired on the beach. And that's really where I gained an appreciation for nature and conservation. I actually volunteered recently with a turtle sanctuary called Project Kerma, and I had the pleasure of hanging out with a turtle Soleil who's rehabilitating, and I also was able to release 3 baby turtle hatchlings to make sure they made it safely to the ocean. Additionally, I've hit the ground running with potentially helping organize the first ever Manila Climate Week. In the US, I helped facilitate the first ever LA Climate Week. And there's so much passion and so much talent here in the climate movement. So I would love to be a part of it in the coming year.
Yes, and your reign has officially started, girls, and it's a year to come. What are you looking forward to the most?
It's a tricky one to decide because there is so much coming our way. But personally, I'm so excited to use this platform as a voice for Mother Earth and as a voice for the voiceless. I've had this journey of environmental preservation my entire life, and it's been a matter of growing that circle of influence and growing the platform to inspire people. And with the Miss Earth crown and the girls with me along the way, I know that we'll be able to touch as many people as we can and really speak to their hearts, speak to their minds, and show them that beauty should be with a purpose, and to care for our environment really is the greatest cause of all.
How about you, Bea?
In the US, I really had the pleasure and honor of using my national level platform to raise awareness of climate displacement and the fact that a projected 1.2 billion people will lose their homes due to the impact of climate change if we do not facilitate a just and clean energy transition. And now with this international title, I'm excited to grow that platform, bring my advocacy to a new level, and work hand in hand with activists here in the Philippines, because in the Philippines alone, 60 million people will have to move inland due to rising sea levels. So it's really important that we not only conserve our environment, but push for real tangible policy like a transition away from fossil fuels to more renewable energies. There's great opportunity here for geothermal, and I would love to leverage my role by connecting with local governments and also grassroots organizations.
Yes, very interesting advocacy, girls, especially that Miss Earth is known as being beauty for a cause. Miss Earth has that tagline. Now let's get into your Miss Earth journey. We want to get to know you more. Jessica, you first. What made you decide to join Miss Earth Australia? We understand that this is not your first national pageant. Miss Earth Australia was not your first pageant. Why the change in the pageant?
Yes, of course. Well, I've never identified myself as a beauty queen or as a pageant girl. This is all very new to me and my family. They've been so supportive my entire life, but they thought they'd be watching me represent Australia at the Olympics or something, not as Miss Earth.
Yeah.
So it's quite a shock to everyone. But as I mentioned, my whole life I've had this one passion, this one purpose, to save our Mother Earth. So to be chosen as Miss Earth, it's what an incredible honour. But the journey here in regards to pageantry, I was a part of Miss World Australia,
Yes.
and that was quite on a whim. I actually was backpacking Europe by myself and saw an advertisement come up on Instagram and thought, what's the worst that can happen? I've been raised to say yes to as many opportunities as I can. And as I mentioned, I want to grow that influence, grow that circle of people who listen to me and who hopefully I'll inspire to be more sustainable. So I thought that the pageantry world was a great way to have that platform to speak to as many people and inspire as many people as possible. And despite having no experience and being a bit rougher around the edges than the other girls, I had a mullet at the time, for example, I made it all the way from preliminaries to states and finally to the national finals, where I got to have the opportunity to speak on stage about that advocacy. And the national director of Miss World Australia, she pretty much just said I was in the wrong place and that Miss Earth is where I should go next. I took a little bit of a break. I did a lot of sustainable modelling with the platform that I'd received from Miss World and used that small following that I had to really promote the power that a person can make through simply shopping sustainable. If everyone chose to shop sustainably and cut out fast fashion, we'd reduce CO2 emissions by more than 60%. This is massive, and we all have that power. So I was really looking forward to finding another opportunity to grow that platform and inspire more people to be sustainable. Miss Earth Australia came along, and it just seems like the perfect way to go.
Yes, and that national director was right.
Absolutely,
Perfect
she
for the Miss
was.
Earth crown.
I have thanked her.
How about you, Bea? What made you decide to choose Miss Earth as the pageant that you want to?
My mom actually signed me up for Miss Earth USA without telling me.
My God.
In high school, I competed in a handful of local teen pageants for scholarship money. But as I was coming up on my last year of university, I thought I was completely done with pageants. I was like, oh no, like I don't need the scholarship money anymore. However, it was the right decision. I remember years ago watching Karen Nabasco's crowning and being so inspired by her commitment to the environment, by her intellect. So I decided to give it a go. And I, fun fact, didn't even learn the top 5 choreography at Miss Earth USA because I didn't think I'd make it that far. But everything happens for a reason. And I was applying for PhD programs at the time, looking to go more into research, but Miss Earth USA thrust me into a more public spotlight, and I've been able to see that I don't only need to make an impact through research, I can also do it in a more public-facing role. And I've educated policymakers, I've educated the broader public in the US on climate displacement. So I feel so blessed to now have this international platform to continue my advocacy work. Also, Miss Earth being the only pageant to be recognized by the UN, I'm really hopeful to live out my dream of one day working for the UN High Commissioner for Refugees in order to expand legal pathways and protections for climate displaced people.
Yes, and interesting part to this is that Filipinos are really aware that as beauty queens, you have to train, you have to prepare for the pageant. But what are your preparations specifically for Miss Earth? Because this is a different pageant. As you said, Bea, this is a UN accredited or acknowledged pageant. What's the difference in preparations?
That's right. Well, that was also a main contributor to me following this passion, is that it is so recognized for its advocacy work, and that the girls here, they're so different than what you may expect. As it's my first international pageant, I was a bit nervous coming into it, but I was so impressed with the camaraderie and the sisterhood of a group of girls from all over the world that genuinely care about the environment. So as regards to preparation, my advocacy was very set in stone. I just have had this environmental passion my entire life, and it really is centered around how people can make a difference and how everyday actions can benefit or harm our environment. So preparation for me was significantly around the passerella and the beauty side of it. I had an incredible coach, RL, from RL's Angels. Yes,
you know RL Angel.
He's incredible. I couldn't have done it without him. I already knew how to talk the talk, and he taught me how to walk the walk.
And you trained with Miss International Australia as well.
Yes, Selena, we had a few days together when she came to the Philippines, and it was an incredible honor to be able to work together because she's got a fantastic walk, so I definitely took some pointers.
How about you, Bea? How did you prepare for this pageant?
As one of the queens who was crowned the earliest in preparation and in the lead up for Miss Earth 2024, I was crowned January 1st. It was really all about creating opportunity, not just for myself, but for my future sister queens. And the Miss Earth USA organization provided me fantastic opportunities of attending various climate conferences. And through that, I was able to connect with the team at LA Climate Week and the Climate Reality Project. So it really well prepared me for speaking on different environmental issues on the international stage. And similar to Jessica, it was more the pasarela, the performance side of things that I needed to work on. I was so fortunate to actually work with a former Miss Philippines Earth Elemental Queen back in the US. But I was also really lucky to train with Tito Raj at KF. And it was a super exciting moment for me. I've been interested in pageantry not only as a competitor, but also viewing it in a more academic light. So I've actually been taking field notes on what pasarela training is like, and eventually would love to publish an academic article on the anthropology of pageantry, why people choose to join, and the imperatives of the women who do choose to join.
Yes, and Jessica, we have past runners-up from from Australia. We have Sheridan Mortlock, Miss Earth Air 2022. We have Diana Grigetta, Miss Earth Air 2015. Did you get advice from past queens?
Yes, I did. I was very fortunate to be quite close to Sheridan. She's still heavily involved. She was actually my MC at Miss Earth Australia. And from about halfway through the show, she pulled me aside and she just said, keep doing what you're doing, because we had several specialty awards, and out of 15, I think I got 11 of them.
Nice.
So I felt a bit, I was on stage just blushing the whole time, including the award that I wanted the most was the Miss Charity Award and the Green Achievers Award. So she was very positive and very guiding after that process, saying that this is exactly what the earth needs, is someone who is achieving that green aspect and that positivity and giving back as well. She didn't want it to go to someone who was only in it for the beauty side. Just like her, she wanted someone with that deep environmental passion. And in Australia now, she's continuing that advocacy. So it was really quite an honour. And for her to make Miss Air, I thought that was just the most incredible achievement, and truly looked up for her and look forward to continuing our work together. So she was very supportive when I won Miss Earth as well. Couldn't believe it. She's an incredible woman, yeah.
Yes, really a beauty for a cause.
Absolutely.
How about you, Bea? Did you get advice from past winner like Lindsay?
Yeah, I was
and
actually
past elemental queens.
Yeah, I was super fortunate to actually meet Lindsay at one of my first official appearances at Miss Earth. I never thought I would walk New York Fashion Week in a million years, but not only did I do that, I got to meet one of my all-time role models, and she was super helpful in the mindset prep. She actually provided me her document of hashtags as well. And I also really relied on Brittany Ann Page, who is the only other Miss USA to achieve the water title. So I feel so lucky to carry on this legacy. The US has been very successful with gaining elemental crowns, and I'm super honored to be standing on the shoulders of so many accomplished women.
And you continue the streak.
Yes, yes. That was my main concern. I just wanted to make top 20 to make sure the US still continued its streak.
For Jessica, you made history, Jessica. As the first Miss Earth winner from Australia, Australia has been successful in the last years, but it falls short, in winning the crown. But you finally made it possible for your home country. How does it feel winning the crown, and how do they think of it?
Oh, it's such an incredible honour. I think that Australia is known, or at least in my circle, for its environmental passion. All of us are so connected to the earth, and it was quite fitting that this year was Heritage, as our traditional landowners, the Indigenous Australians, they cared for the land so deeply, and they passed on their care, their knowledge through Dreamtime stories. And as an inspiring environmental journalist, I was truly looking forward to speaking about this legacy and how the power of the spoken word and how influencing one another to be passionate and make change really can protect our land. So to come home with the Miss Earth title is such an incredible honor. As I mentioned, I have a very supportive team, and all of them flew over to watch me, as did my family. And looking at them from stage when I was crowned, there were tears, there was dancing, they all had massive flags, and they were chanting Australia the entire show. It feels like I've not only won this for myself as a voice for the environment, as that passion and that pathway I've always looked for, but I've won this for them as they've worked so hard, and I'm really grateful to have provided them with the opportunity to finally have a Miss Earth crown.
And you did it.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Bea, you are very proud of your Filipino heritage, speaking of heritage, and you never failed to mention your Filipino roots. So did it help you in some ways in preparing for the pageant, or giving you confidence in stepping foot in the country of your ancestors?
Yeah, I was really proud to be the first Miss USA, Earth USA of Fil-Am descent, because Miss Earth being a Filipino-based pageant, I was actually shocked to be the first one. And my advocacy is deeply related to my heritage, because when my grandparents immigrated to the US with my mom at a very young age, it was actually by the grace of other people reaching out and helping them that they were able to succeed and make it and succeed in that American dream. So I was always passionate about paying it forward, which is why I volunteered as English as a new language tutor for immigrant and refugee students. And that's where I recognized an increasing share of my students weren't just being displaced due to armed conflict or political violence, they were also facing the impacts of climate change like desertification, intensified natural disasters, and rising sea levels. So that passion for helping one another, realizing and recognizing where I came from, is really central to my passion and why I wanted to pursue the Miss Earth crown.
Yes, and unfortunately, the Philippines is one of the battlegrounds of this climate problems. We just had 6 typhoons. So, I'm sorry, tropical cyclones in this month alone. So speaking of your advocacies, many people don't understand why pageants have advocacies for them. It's just about glitz and glamour. So how can you convince our viewers all around the world that your advocacies are relevant to the world?
Yes, well, as I mentioned, I have been on this path for environmental preservation my entire life, and choosing my advocacy for Miss Earth was a bit difficult, because I just wanted to stand up on stage and say we all have to make a difference. We all have the power, and this is our one Earth. This is Mother Earth. We need to love her and cherish her and do what we can to protect her. As I've learned from so many different queens about all the environmental detrimental effects that are going on right now, the climate crisis in related to refugee care, it's just heartbreaking. So to refine my advocacy was a bit difficult, but I wanted to make it something that would impact people and show them that we all have the power to make a difference. And that's why my advocacy is called Dress for Tomorrow. By shopping sustainably, we can seriously reduce climate emissions and protect our Earth for future generations. And this relates heavily to the platform of Miss Earth itself. We're not just beauty queens, we're not just here for the glitz and glam. We're using this passion, this influence, and this public eye to really inspire people. And that's why I refined it to something that each of us has the power to change. But I do understand that a lot of people don't understand that advocacy side of it. And to that, I hope that they look at our journey and they look at the ways that we speak and the inspiration we try and instill in one another and the public, and see how we're using this platform for good.
Anything to add, Bea?
Yeah, at a time where it's very fraught for the environmental movement in the US, and it's a very scary time for immigrant and refugee communities. It means the world to have represented the USA, have that across my chest, and be a proud multicultural woman who recognizes and promotes the dignity of displaced people worldwide. I think that in of itself was a strong statement, and I'm so honored to continue that work now with an even larger platform.
Yeah, for some pageant fans, fortunately not Filipinos, but some pageant fans across the world, they have certain criticisms against Miss Earth, that Miss Earth is not like other pageants. We're into glitz and glamour, that Miss Earth is a bit boring. But for you queens, what separates Miss Earth from other pageants, and why it deserves its spot in the Big Four or the Olympics of beauty pageants in the world?
I don't want to disrespect other pageants by any
course.
means. Every industry has its purpose, and I think that any platform that gives women a voice in this world, a voice to speak their mind, to speak their truth, and to inspire other people to do the same, I think that's an incredible platform. But Miss Earth has my heart through and through, because the girls here rely so heavily on the platform to inspire people, and their advocacies, they ring true. And despite having no voice on coronation night, my answers were able to motivate the judges because they could sense the truth, the passion, and the love behind them. And I believe that's true for all the girls. We're using this platform and this industry not only to launch our careers as models, as influencers, as beauty queens, and as women in the public eye, but to inspire people to make that difference. We only have one Earth, and all of these girls are fighting so hard to protect it. I'm very proud to be a part of this sisterhood.
Beautiful, Jessica. Bea?
One of my fondest memories of Miss Earth was when we visited Cebu. We were able to go out into a motorcade into the local barangays, the more rural parts of the Philippines. And I appreciate that this organization makes an effort to show the culture, show the everyday life of an average Filipino person, and understand that us in the global north, we're often insulated from the impacts of climate change, but Miss Earth, being a Filipino-based pageant, intimately understands how much global warming is impacting the Philippines and its people. And seeing people across generations turn out not only to support the queens, but the environmental mission of Miss Earth was so inspiring. Oftentimes it can feel overwhelming. So much is going on in the world with the climate crisis especially, but seeing everyone come together and unite for the common good of our planet gave me a lot of hope.
And speaking of Miss Earth, some of the pageants are gradually evolving from one pageant to another. Are there any changes that you want to see in Miss Earth in the next years, or do you think Miss Earth by itself, the requirements, the advocacy is perfect by itself?
Oh, I think that the advocacy and the organization, and therefore the women involved, is truly incredible. I learned so much in this experience from other contestants. I mean, we're all from different parts of the world with different responsibilities and different backgrounds and requirements, and yet each of us came together for the common good of our Mother Earth. I think there's always room for improvement in every industry in this world. That's why we have these greenhouse gas emissions. That's why we have the reliance on fossil fuels, is that people aren't making that movement. But I know that Miss Earth is trying every day to be an example and set that green footprint for the rest of the pageant industry to follow. So I just hope that we continue down that path for environmental preservation, and perhaps next year we can come along to the 2025 Miss Earth delegates, all their tours, and maybe we can inspire some environmental conservation activities as well.
I know Jessica and I are really excited that Miss Earth is so committed to its advocacy, but we're also excited to implement our own sustainability initiatives. And I really appreciate and admire that Tita Lorraine and Tita Peachy will work hand in hand with us and are excited about what we want to accomplish throughout our year. Additionally, there was so much diversity in the points of views, the opinions, and the types of girls who competed in Miss Earth. I always like to say Miss Earth isn't only an international beauty pageant, it's an international conference of inspiring young female activists from all around the world. And I know I learned so much about different cultures, different causes. So I really hope that Miss Earth can continue to be a leader and inspiring other pageants to become more progressive in their stances.
Yeah, and that's why Miss Earth is, one of the most relevant events, international events, annually.
Absolutely.
Now we're down to our last few questions. Your advocacies are really great, and you've been doing that, and you've been pursuing your advocacies in the last years. Now the question is, how can you ensure and will ensure, using your title, that your advocacies will translate into more tangible solutions? Jessica first.
Well, my advocacy has a firm title that I have to credit my dad for. He's very good at the marketing side of it all. And I hope to perhaps in this year, if not the years afterwards, when I continue my journey for environmental preservation, hope to turn it into a foundation, a charity of sorts, to hopefully not only educate people on the impact that their fashion decisions have, but inspire them to make that difference in everyday actions, and perhaps help people who may not be able to afford or adapt to those current climate issues and fashion choices also. But with the Miss Earth title, as well as the advocacies that we're all adapting over time, we're all inspired by one another and changing as we go. I hope to really just use this platform to get my hands a bit dirty and walk the walk, as it is, in the fashion industry. Show everyone that beauty does have a cause. It starts with within, and it should never come at the harm of our environment.
Bea?
One of the more tangible initiatives I began in the US is lobbying for the introduction of climate refugee visas. There is actually a bill sitting in the Foreign Affairs Committee which would recognize climate displaced people for the first time ever in US policy. However, why I'm so excited to actually move to the Philippines and start on the ground work here is more broadly, I'm very passionate about recentering the climate movement around voices from the global south, those who are most disproportionately impacted by climate change. And by working hand in hand with local NGOs and grassroots activists here, I'm really hopeful that we can launch a campaign and an initiative to help climate resilience strategies and to pressure fossil fuel corporations worldwide to actually contribute to the loss and damages fund. Because unfortunately, the contributions of the US and those in the global north have really paled in comparison to the profits that this industry makes.
Yes, and speaking of accountability, as Miss Earth Queens, you have your platform, you have your influence. So the question now is, how can you help make a difference in exacting accountability from big countries like the United States and Australia, and pushing bigger countries and corporations, rather, to act on climate change problems?
Yeah, so it is an industry issue, isn't it? I mean, you can look at those bigger countries like the USA, like Australia, and you can pinpoint the exact industries that are making that fossil fuel damage, that climate emissions, and without people coming together and lobbying for change, they're just going to continue down this path, as it is ultimately a money-making path. So I believe that it does come down to the power of the people. If each of us stand together and choose empathy and respect over looking good today, over the cheapest options today that may harm our environment, it'll have a massive impact. And ultimately, governing bodies, those large industries that are causing damage, they can't ignore us forever. And if everyone comes together and fights for a common goal that is preserving our environment, it'll have such a positive difference. And I really look forward to inspiring that throughout this reign and building that community of people who genuinely care.
I had the honor of working with a climate activation app that's kind of like social media for climate activists called Chili. And every day it provides its users different actions that they can participate in. I'm very passionate about coming from a democratic country where you can make your voice heard by lobbying our government. But it requires persistence and consistency in advocating for our environment. So I really encourage people to educate themselves on environmental policies, continue voting for politicians who are pro-environment, and to lobby those in charge. I really would love everyone to download Chili because it's 5 minutes a day. You can do things like write a tweet to your representative. You can even send emails to fossil fuel corporations or media companies to draw attention to different activations that they're in charge of, and they successfully halted deep sea mining in certain parts of the world. So it shows when you come together and unite with people who want to make work towards a common goal, you can really achieve great things.
And we are looking forward to the rest of your reign, Queens, Jessica, Bea. Any last message, especially for young girls from Australia, from the Philippines, from the United States, watching right now, who dreams to become beauty queens someday?
Yeah, that's my biggest message to people who are watching right now, especially young people who want to leave their mark on this earth, is that you do only have one life and you have to make it count every day. Say yes to the opportunities you're provided. Take everything you have and give it to the earth, give it to a purpose. I think too many people focus on giving their life's mission, their thought processes, their entire mind and being into what they look like, into what other people think of them, perhaps even into one person or one job. But all of these things, they're not tangible. They aren't sufficient to fill your soul and your heart. And if we focus on giving back to the environment and providing a healthy, greener future for for not only us as we grow old, but our children, our grandchildren will inherently become greater, more selfless people. And I think that's the most beautiful way to exist of all.
Beautiful, Jessica. Bea?
My main advice is the mark of a true beauty queen is someone who will continue their advocacy work with or without a crown. I really admire that here in the Philippines, maganda has multiple meanings. It's not only being beautiful, but it's having beautiful character. And I would hope to inspire everyone to keep those words close to their heart. It also means the world to me to be representing the USA as a multicultural woman. Growing up, I didn't see too many people who looked like me in the pageant industry in the US. So I would hope to inspire young girls everywhere who don't see themselves to kind of manifest, put themselves in my shoes, and to represent their culture with pride. The US is truly a multicultural melting pot, and I hope that pushing forward, we can truly celebrate our diversity.
Thank you so much for allowing us to interview girls once again. Australia's first Miss Earth winner, Jessica Lane, and our reigning Miss Earth Water US 2024, Bea Millan-Windorski. This has been Rappler Talk Entertainment. I am Jairo Bulyedo. Thank you for watching.